Recommend approval of the minutes for September the 5th.
In favor, please say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Then we have the approval of Tarrant County Hospital District policies. First one up is Rob Stevenson. How do you pronounce this? The Quappy plan?
Quappy plan.
That almost sounds nasty.
I know. I didn't make it up. Do we have the slide, please?
Keep me in control, will you, man?
Here. So every year, it's a regulatory requirement for us to present to our board and for approval our annual Quappy plan, which is basically sort of the general framework for how we do quality improvement at JPS, what the committee structures are that are responsible for this, what the basic methodology is, and there we go. Great. Thanks. In reviewing the previous Quappy plans, first off, there were some adjustments we needed to make, just in the general sense that we've changed the committees that report up through patient safety, quality, governance, so the current plan reflects that. But most importantly, when I looked at the plan, the gap was that JPS is a cultural organization. We have a very specific culture here, and the culture is built around our 3 rules. And as I reflected on the 3 rules, I thought to myself, this is the basis for the development of a high reliability organization. So when we own it, when we seek to recognize outstanding performance, that's the seek joy, and recognize that. And when we don't do the things that disrupt communication, because ultimately when you talk about what a jerk means, a jerk in the healthcare setting means somebody who's behaving or communicating in a way that disrupts teams, that makes it so that people don't feel like they can raise their hand when there's something going on. That makes them concerned about whether or not they're going to face retribution if they do, and that sort of thing. So I thought that given how cultural we are, and as we begin a journey towards high reliability as an organization, that building upon givens that are widely accepted in this building and across the network, the 3 rules. It's how when I have a meeting with the director, a performance meeting, to say, how are you doing? We base that meeting on the 3 rules. How are you conducting yourself vis-a-vis the 3 rules? How are you holding your teams accountable to the 3 rules? And as we bring those rules into the quality picture, that's how in the JPS context, in a JPS-y kind of way, that we drive ourselves towards high reliability. Because if you own your work, and you own your outcomes, and you recognize those people who are doing great work, and you don't do the things that disrupt needed communication around how things are going in whatever team setting you're talking about, whether it's a surgical team, a team that's responding to an incident, whether it's a construction team. I mean, people need to be able to raise their hands and say, this isn't going exactly right, I need to tell you. And anybody on that team, from the environmental services employee to the chief of surgery, needs to be able to raise their hand and say, I'm not comfortable with where we are right now. We need to take a reassessment. So the biggest change that I made in the Quappy plan this year was to tie quality improvement fundamentally to our 3 rules going forward. So that's really the big change. So I give it to you for your consideration.
Pardon me?
I thought it was a well laid out plan, policy.
Thank you, George. If no comments, then we need to vote on it. Okay. You got that, Sean?
Yes, sir.
DT, you second? Oh. Okay. Any additions, corrections, et cetera? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you, sir. See you later. Up comes Kenny. Good afternoon.
I'm here to offer up for your consideration the pharmacy operations policy and procedure. Nothing has really changed other than just the formatting and links to the policy tracker within our system.
Everybody get a chance to look at it. Did you find it there, Amanda?
20, page 20, 21.
You got it, Steve?
Primary changes were references.
I didn't see it.
Primary
I
changes.
didn't
The
see any
references.
changes, they made some changes to the reference. I didn't see any substantive change in the policy.
They're not subtle.
Yeah.
Any other discussions from anybody? Take a motion for approval.
Move approval of pharmacy operation
Dorothy's
policy.
got, DT, second. Any changes, et cetera? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Kenny, thank you.
Okay.
Is Wanda here today?
Yes.
Here she is. Good afternoon.
Aye.
I'm here to present this afternoon the patient care policy, 1500 for nutritional assessment of dietary needs. The actual policy, there are only just a couple of word additions. Addition of the word "the" in the policy statement. And then under the notes and attachments, under PC 5101, the addition of, where it says "and meal delivery" was added, and under 1506, the word "ambulatory" was added to that.
Okay.
Everybody get a chance to look at it?
Move approval of nutritional assessment and dietary need policy.
Is there a second? D, Sean,
I'll
you
hit
got
him the
DT?
next time.
Changes, corrections, et cetera? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Financial conflict of interest in human research. Dr. Elliott's coming up.
Good afternoon
Good afternoon.
and Happy New Year.
One of us.
So I've got two policies before you for the Office of Clinical Research. They're actually two brand-new policies that we have created with regards to addressing any federal regulations and ensuring that we are compliant with all federal and state regulations with regards to research. The two that you have in front of you, the first one we have is the OCR 1000 and the policy and procedure for financial conflict of interest in human research. You'll also see in there, we have a form and everything that's also developed with that. This has been in conjunction, working with our compliance office also, which has also approved these. That's the first one I'll ask for.
DT, is there a second?
Okay.
Ralph Waldo, second. Discussion, anybody? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Tricia, the auditing and
you.
monitoring policy.
Thank you so much. The second one is OCR 1200 for research integrity. This is actually a policy addressing auditing and monitoring. So this is also ensuring that we are compliant with all federal and state regulations for all of our trials and our research that are here. So we will be monitoring with a goal of annual monitoring and auditing of all of our research areas across the organization. Asking for approval of that one. That's a new policy. That is a new one also.
Okay.
Second. May I have the question on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
This is after your study is approved, right?
Yes.
Then this is the policy that shows how y'all will be monitoring it on this side, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
So
okay.
once it's approved and it's up and running, especially if you have a new principal investigator or someone who's doing that, we want to make sure that you're following all the standards of each of the protocols that we have. So it's really following the protocols, making sure that you're adherent to all of those guidelines and regulations.
Okay, all right. That's it.
All right. Any further discussion, changes, corrections? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. That one passes. Bereavement services.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Elliott.
This is the fastest.
Is Ms.
committee
Laura.
meeting.
Good afternoon and happy
Afternoon.
New Year for everyone. I am here today to ask for your approval on a couple of minor changes to a policy and procedure with bereavement services. And in essence, what we did was added the word perinatal, and we changed the last, on the last part on E, we changed may be provided throughout the year, and that is it.
Okay.
Thoughts, comments, anybody? DT for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. PS 190, Dr. Stevenson again. Before you start, it just dawned on me, looking in the audience, this will be the last quality meeting for Bill, for me, I believe.
It's your last quality meeting, is there anything you'd like, any?
Well, I thought it was just the kind thing to do, and you just, all right, you miserable old bat. And the newest COO is back there, it's Dr. Karen Duncan. And since he does not appear to be presenting in the public forum today, just for Dr. Hochberg, I'd like to go.
It's gonna be a standing agenda.
You're sitting closer. I mean, that's a start.
That's an improvement.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All righty. Rob, please, go right ahead.
Sure.
I've been fooling around too much.
So, as it was the case last year, our quality goal for 2020 is based around PSI 90, which is this risk-adjusted and weighted measure of a series of serious adverse events that occur in the course of hospital care. Last year, we had a very good result with a rate of 0.91. And what that means is that, so it's a risk-adjusted weighted measure that's based upon how sick the patients are that you are taking care of as a hospital. So, and it's presented as an observed over expected ratio. So a ratio of 1.0 means that our patients are doing as would be expected based upon their severity of illness. And everybody, and basically you're comparing to yourself because you're comparing against what it would be expected for you statistically, okay? So last year we ended up coming out at the end of the year with a pretty fantastic result at 0.91, which means we performed better than expected given the patients that we take care of at JPS. We have never had a result of one previously. So this is a landmark accomplishment for JPS that we actually managed to, with great attention and effort, improve our processes and care to deliver care that is better than would be expected given the nature of who comes through the door here. Trauma patients, patients with many comorbid conditions, people with health problems that have been unattended to very frequently. And given all of that, They did better than expected. So that is really a tremendous achievement, and really innumerable people across the organization deserve a tremendous amount of credit for the hard work that they did to achieve that. The results that you have for the year to date represent only 2 months. And if you see the events from fiscal year 19, we had a total of 45 events. So that's 45 events spread over the course of 12 months. So in any given month, even with a good performance like that, you're not talking about a whole lot of events, and there's quite a bit of month-to-month variation. So these results of 2 months are not very meaningful. And the other thing that you have to say is that, I mean, they're encouraging, but they may or may not be meaningful, right? So, and given the fact that some of the events are very highly weighted and some of the events are not very highly weighted, like, for example, respiratory failure, sepsis, and acute kidney injury occurring in the postoperative setting, those things are pretty heavily weighted, whereas some of the others, like pressure ulcers or accidental puncture or laceration, those get a lot less weight. So, so it doesn't take many of those big events to change this number dramatically. But we're off to a very good start. I'm certainly happier that it's 0.72, which is astoundingly good. I think that's probably, to be quite frank, an unsustainable number. But, you know, it's encouraging. I'm certainly happier to be at 0.72 than I would be at 1.2, which is actually how we started the first quarter last year. We were at 1.26 at the end of the first quarter last year. So we're off to a very, very good start. But obviously, it's going to take tremendous effort to sustain this result. So, yes, sir.
Rob, on the blue bar, where you have
Yes.
the rate of 0.72, how is that number derived? Because the ones, the events below.
Right. So that number comes out of a very, very complex calculation that has to do with the weights on these different measures, along with the severity of illness. So the comorbid conditions that are present in these patients, along with the things that they're having done. So it is a very complicated calculation.
Not just the average of those three
No,
events.
certainly it is not. And it, excuse me. And so, you know, it is a heavy computer job to come up with that number. And that it is not even an understandable polynomial. So it is a very, very complicated calculation. But the point is that number benchmarks against what we should be, which is the other thing that makes it complicated, right? So that 0.72 means we're off to a rip-roaring start for sure, but we had months as recently as August where a single month we were at 1.25. So, you know, the normal variation of this is very significant month to month. So the longer the period of time over which you evaluate this number, the more valid it is. Right, so because, you know, you need to be able to get that month-to-month variation smoothed out. So this is a nice couple of months. It's too early to know what the December number is. We usually get this number on the 20th, right around the 20th of every month. So we're a little bit ahead of what we'll know for December, but I do not know where we will yet stand for that. But the next time we meet, we'll have an update for you. So this is really early. This is like saying, oh, wow, this golfer's at even par after 2 holes. Well, that's really great, but we don't know where that's going to end up at the end. What's that?
For Zim, he said it would be.
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd take it. You're happy about it, but there's no way that that's going to give you much of an indication about where you're going to end up at the end of the year. So, okay, very good. Any other questions?
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'd say that all you folks are doing very, very well and deserve compliments. For sure.
Very good.
Yeah, silent.
Look, the board, this meeting is still young, I can still come up there.
Nobody's invited you yet.
Yeah.
Secret, yeah.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good.
Very
Thank you.
much. It's a complicated subject. But the the results are well worth it, well worth it. Okay. I think that's it for the open session. So we
Okay.
need to close this session at 13:27 and take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back to discuss some items for closed session. And thank you all. Is that right, DT? All right. And we have a couple of items. Would you like to go ahead?
Certainly, just had as, to present to the board the credentialing packet that we had previously discussed with the initial appointments of the the action item that was needed was approval with particularly number 68 notifying that it's 1 year rather than 2.
I move as presented by.
All right. Is there a second? Second. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you
Is
all.
that-
Thank you, Chair.
That's it.
Well, we only had 2 Sentinel events from whole first quarter of 2020, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice, I'd say. Well done. All righty, we're adjourned. 14:50 hour.